Hello everyone, welcome to today's story. A young mother disappears into the rain with her newborn in her arms. But why did she leave the only place she could call home? What happened the night a stranger found her in an abandoned house and offered shelter? Why is CEO Alex risking everything, even defying her own family, to find her? And what secret decision from Alex's mother could change the course of their lives forever? Stay with us until the very end to uncover every hidden truth, every silent tear, and the choice between love and duty. If you enjoy emotional, dramatic storytelling, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and help us reach our goal of 1,000 followers. Your support means the world to us. The rain fell like a curtain of silver threads, draping the night in a cold, restless shiver. Adam's footsteps splashed through shallow puddles as his eyes caught a fragile silhouette inside an abandoned house. A young woman, her arms wrapped protectively around a small child. Tuna's gaze was distant, as though she'd been walking for days. Yet in that moment, she looked as if she had nowhere else to go. Without much thought, Adam offered her the simplest thing she needed: shelter. They walked together beneath the relentless drizzle, the dim light from street lamps breaking into fragments on the wet ground. When they reached Madame Tang's modest home, warmth seemed to bloom at the doorway. Madame Tang greeted them with the gentleness of someone who had learned the weight of solitude. She ushered them in, her voice carrying a quiet kindness. The air inside smelled faintly of boiled rice and herbal tea, a stark contrast to the damp air outside. At the table, Tuna spoke her name for the first time, her voice soft but steady. They shared rice, pork, and chicken, a simple meal, yet in the glow of the small oil lamp, it felt like a banquet. Outside, the rain continued to beat against the roof, but within those walls, there was a fragile peace. Adam didn't speak much. His eyes simply followed the young mother as she carefully fed her child, each gesture deliberate, as though she was afraid the moment would vanish if she moved too fast. Beyond the warmth, the night still held its questions of where she had come from and where she might go when the rain stopped. Morning crept in quietly, with a pale light filtering through the thin curtains. The storm had passed, but the ground outside still shimmered with the memory of rain. Madame Tang was already awake, moving slowly around the kitchen, her hands practiced in the rituals of tea and breakfast. Tuna sat by the doorway, holding her child close, feeling the warmth of small breaths against her chest. She looked around the modest home, the worn wooden table, the faded photographs on the wall, and felt a stillness she hadn't known for a long time. "Rest a while longer," Madame Tang said gently. "When you have your strength, then think about finding work. I can watch the baby for you." Her words fell like sunlight over damp soil, soft yet grounding. Over steaming cups of tea, the conversation drifted toward the past. Madame Tang spoke of her own story, how her son had once torn apart the life she'd built, selling the home she loved. Yet she didn't speak with bitterness. Instead, her voice carried the calm of someone who had made peace with loss. "What happened is just a season," she said. "It passes, like rain." Tuna listened in silence, her fingers brushing her child's fine hair. She realized she was lucky. Lucky to have found Adam in the rain. Lucky to have met this woman who offered shelter without asking for anything in return. But beneath that quiet gratitude was a thread of unease, a whisper that the peace here might be fleeting. She had learned too well that the world rarely left a mother and child untouched for long. Far from the quiet of Madame Tang's home, Alex stood by her desk, the morning air thick with unease. The reports in front of her blurred into meaningless numbers. Her mind was elsewhere. 2 days, that's how long it had been since Tuna left the farm with her child. The absence was more than physical. It gnawed at Alex like a question with no answer. She reached for her phone and dialed Johnny. His voice, steady and familiar, anchored her just enough to speak. They mapped out the day's plan, splitting up, covering as much ground as possible. The urgency was unspoken, but understood. Every hour mattered. Before she could leave, Alex knew she had to untangle herself from work. She called Huang, instructing him to oversee the wood workshop, to handle deliveries and keep production flowing. Then she rang Trung, asking her to join Huang for the week. The words came quickly, clipped, each one edged with the impatience of someone who hated wasting time. When the calls ended, Alex sat for a moment in the dim light of her office, hearing the faint patter of rain against the windows. A thought pressed in, not just worry for Tuna, but a fear that the reasons behind her departure might be more painful than she wanted to believe. She took her coat, stepped outside, and locked the door behind her. The air was damp and heavy, the kind of weather that seemed to hold secrets in its breath. Somewhere out there, Tuna was walking under this same sky, and Alex intended to find her. The rain had eased into a soft drizzle when Alex's sister arrived, her expression caught between hesitation and resolve. They sat across from each other, the silence stretching until Alex finally asked, "You went to see her, didn't you?" Her sister's eyes shifted away. "I only told her the truth," she said quietly, "that our family would never accept a single mother. It's not about her as a person, Alex. It's about what's suitable." The words landed like stones, heavy and cold. Alex's hands tightened around her cup. Suitable? Do you have any idea what those words can do to someone who's already fighting to keep going? Her sister didn't answer at first. Then, almost reluctantly, she added, "Mother's been planning for you to meet Mr. Liang's daughter. It's a good match, for the business, for the family's standing. You know how she is." And Alex did know. Their mother's voice, polished and unyielding, had shaped many of her choices growing up. But this time, the line was drawn in her heart, not on paper. "My love life is not a boardroom negotiation," Alex said, her voice low but sharp. "I'm over 30, I know what I want, and I will decide for myself." Her sister sighed, as though Alex's defiance was a burden she couldn't carry. "I only wanted what's best for you." Alex stood, reaching for her coat again. "Maybe what's best for me isn't what you think it is. And maybe it's not what Mother thinks either." She stepped toward the door, the faint patter of rain welcoming her back to the search, and to the choice she refused to surrender. The clouds hung low, swollen with unspent rain, as Alex met Johnny at the edge of the square. They exchanged a brief nod. There was no need for long words now. The plan was already etched in their minds. Divide, cover ground, report back. Johnny would head toward the police station, his connections a bridge into the places Alex couldn't reach. She, in turn, would follow her own network, calling in favors from friends who owed her more than a few. They parted with a simple promise. "Call the moment you find her." Alex made her way through streets lined with dripping awnings and the hum of shopkeepers sweeping rainwater from their thresholds. When she stepped into the small cafe where Long waited, the warmth of the air and the scent of strong tea met her like an old friend. Long, still in his uniform, glanced up and waved her over. They spoke in low voices, leaning over the table. Alex slid her phone across, the screen lit with a photo of Tuna holding her child. "I need you to help me find her," she said. Long studied the image, then nodded. "I'll circulate this to my team. If she's in this district, we'll know." Outside, the first drops began again, small and deliberate. Alex stepped back into the rain, the world around her smudged in shades of gray. Somewhere ahead, Johnny was knocking on doors, asking questions, sowing threads of hope. And she, with only the sound of rain in her ears, kept walking, because standing still was the one thing she could not bear. The rain thickened into a steady rhythm, tapping against umbrellas and tin roofs, when Alex finally heard something different. A shopkeeper, leaning on his counter, squinted as she showed him the photo. "Yes, I saw her yesterday," he said slowly. "Tall woman, carrying a baby, basket on her back. She went that way." He pointed toward a narrow lane glistening with rainwater. It wasn't much, just a sliver of direction, but it was more than Alex had held in days. She thanked him and followed the lane, her boots splashing through shallow pools. Every step sharpened the hope that she was closing the distance. Elsewhere, in the quiet shelter of Madame Tang's home, Tuna was speaking more freely now. She told Madame Tang of her plan to find work soon, her voice carrying both determination and fatigue. Madame Tang listened, then offered to watch the baby whenever she needed. The kindness felt like an anchor, but in Tuna's heart there was still a pull, a sense that she could not linger too long, that safety here might not last. She didn't know that, just beyond the blur of rain and streets, Alex was tracing her steps with the tenacity of someone chasing not just a person, but a promise. The two paths, separated by only a few turns at a stroke of luck, were drawing slowly, painfully closer. And in that fragile space between distance and reunion, the rain kept falling, as if holding its breath for what would come next. By the third day, the rain had become a constant, not a storm, but a quiet weight that blurred the horizon. Alex's coat clung damp against her shoulders as she stood at the mouth of yet another street, scanning faces that weren't hers. Fatigue pressed in, but it wasn't enough to make her stop. Her mind circled back to her mother's voice, to the sharp edges of words like status, suitability, and future. Those words had been used like a wall, high, clean, and cold, meant to keep someone like Tuna outside. The thought twisted in Alex's chest. Love, to her, had never been about convenience or social alignment. It was about the way someone's absence could hollow you out. She thought of Johnny somewhere across the district, of Long making calls from the station, of rain-slick lanes where Tuna might still be walking. Each step forward felt like pushing against an unseen current, but surrender wasn't an option. Tuna, in the meantime, sat by Madame Tang's small window, watching the street. The air inside was warm, the baby asleep in her arms. She didn't know if she was ready to see Alex again, or to face what had driven her away in the first place. Out on the street, Alex turned down another narrow lane. The light was dim here, the air heavy with the scent of wet earth. She didn't know if this road would lead her closer or further away, only that she had to take it. Because some choices, once made, couldn't be unmade. On a rainy night, Adam found Tuna holding her baby in an abandoned house and took them to Madame Tang's home for shelter. The next morning, Madame Tang promised to watch the baby so Tuna could look for work. Elsewhere, CEO Alex discovered that Tuna had left the farm 2 days earlier and immediately asked Johnny and police friends to help search. Her sister confessed to telling Tuna that the family would never accept her, revealing the truth that Alex's mother opposed the relationship because Tuna is a single mother and wanted to match Alex with a business partner's daughter. Defying the rain and family pressure, Alex pressed on. A fragile lead emerged, yet the distance between them remained, stretched by detours, prejudice, and fears neither had dared to face.